It's buffering. All right, we're live. Welcome back, Critical Nerd Theory. I'm Arthur Poet. With me, y'all know I don't do this that often. I do not just interview anybody, but I have Chris McLeish. He has an amazing Kickstarter coming out. He has an amazing comic coming out called, let me get it right, because y'all know I can't pronounce nothing, Assemblage.
Yes.
Did I get it right?
You got it right.
June 13th, right?
Correct, yes.
June 13th, Kickstarter. We're going to talk about this comic. He's going to give us a little background about himself and why you should check this comic book out on Kickstarter. And once it comes out, we're going to talk about it again on the channel. I'm going to let everybody know, like, hey, this project is live. Check it out. So, without further ado, Chris McLeish, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into the comic a little bit later. But for now, tell us a little bit about your background and what made you decide to create Assemblage.
Thank you for the time and the opportunity to speak with you, Arthur. To begin, I'm a director of research with a focus on seniors' quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
My educational background is in educational psychology. I earned my PhD in educational psychology, so I've applied that to my current position as a director of research. I've been reading, collecting comic books for over 32 years, and I've always wanted to create a comic book. So as I approached my 40s, I just decided, okay, let me make that a side project. So the Assemblage is the result of a little more than 3 years of doing this side project.
I like that. And from the preview that you blessed me with reading,
Oh, thank you.
The psychological aspect of it. I got the imagination. What's the Assemblage about at its core?
The Assemblage is a team of superheroes who visit Earth to investigate unusual signs of interstellar travel that exceed 21st century human technology. On Earth, they confront a cosmic entity and its human agent who are exacerbating chaos and hostility. The mission of the Assemblage is to protect all forms of life, and they do so with powers based on life energy or chi.
So I like that. One of the things in the preview, and I only read the first 12 pages, is the imagination. This brings me back to old school comics from the 50s and 60s. And I wasn't even born yet, but I was exposed to these comics, and I grew up in the 90s, 2000s reading comics where everything became extreme and the comic code was just thrown away. This kind of has that old school feel where you have talking animals, you have giant robots, you have all these mysteries going on. Was this intentional to give it an old school comic book feel when you wrote it? If so, why?
I did want an underlying message of heroism, and that overlaps with what you're talking about, the way old school comic books, 60s, 70s, 80s, how they were, the spirit of those comics. And so, yes, that was intentional. And at the same time, because I've read so many comic books, that influence is just naturally in what I'm writing.
I like that. Now you're dealing with characters who assemble some from different worlds and different dimensions, and you explain in the comic how these portals work. How much thought went into world building when you created this universe? And what is one of the biggest takeaways? Because some of the characters feel a certain way about going back to Earth, which, I don't want to spoil it, but how important was the world building and making sure that people connected with these different? I mean, you got parrots, you got uh, turtles, you got all these different kind of creatures, humanoid creatures. How much thought went into this world when you were building it?
I began with the themes of heroism, selflessness, and imagination.
Mm-hmm.
So once you have the theme, I find that a lot of the content just emerges naturally. And
That.
so from that theme is like the root, and then the branches and the leaves just sprout from those roots. And world building, it's critical. And I say that because the world is more than just the world. The world is a character in and of itself. So to develop the characters or to show the readers the fullness of the characters, that context has to be really strong.
I like
so
that.
The characters and the context, they go hand in hand. So world building, it's at the heart of everything. So there's a bit of world building in each character or each situation or each conflict that's in the story.
This is a great segue. Speaking of characters, tell us about some of the characters in the assemblage and which characters, while you developed this, became one of your personal favorites.
Okay, so I'll touch on three of the heroes. One is Vam. Vam is the shapeshifter. In the preview pages, you saw him as a bear with chameleon eyes, and he turns into a ball, and then he turns into a dinosaur. And again, it goes back to the idea of themes. So with imagination as a theme, that led me to have this idea of many different forms, but one essential substance of heroism, or one essential substance of justice.
I like that.
So Vam is a living metaphor of that idea, which sprouted from that earlier theme, or that initial theme of imagination and selflessness.
Okay.
Another character is Zenith, and she's the female. You saw her using electrical powers, and again, going back to that theme of many different forms or many different expressions, but one essential substance of heroism. So what she does is any physical motion or any physical action, she can convert that into electricity.
Nice. It's a different way of going about using electricity as a power base. I like that.
Yeah. So that is her. And then the third character, the third of the three heroes I'll touch on is Priest. And you saw him have three forms. So as a young man, as that strong old elderly man, and then as the parrot with the weather altering powers. And again, going back to that theme of many different forms or many different expressions, but one essential substance of heroism, selflessness.
I like that. Now, a great story is only as great as the antagonist of what the heroes are up against. So, what can you tell us about the villains in this story? And what can people expect in issue one?
Okay, so in those first 12 pages, you're one of the few people who've seen the preview. Uh, you've seen three of the four villains. Actually, you've seen all of the four villains, but one is a subtle appearance. Uh, the one that a lot of people have gravitated to, or that has caught a lot of attention, is the affect list, and that is the giant mechanical ape.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a relic of a warlike civilization that died out.
I like that.
And the other, I'll tell you about the two main villains. And in this issue, the other main villain his name is Kobrem. And the suffering he experienced as a child, during his childhood, that's led him to have a weird view of the world, in the sense that he's the only one who can fix things. And the world is messed up until he sets it right, until he rebuilds it his way.
Okay.
And that, sorry to interrupt, and that just comes from the suffering and loss that he experienced as a child.
I can tell you got a background in psychology, because these characters are well thought out, from a philosophical standpoint. And this is a very action heavy story. I don't want people to get lost in the Matrix. This is a very action oriented comic where heroism, I can't even talk today, is at the forefront. And it does, it does, have that magic that's missing from comics, because people in modern comics are arguing over, oh, is this political? Is this political? What's the agenda? This is just a story that you wanted to tell, that you're inviting people into your universe, into your mind to share. Like, yeah. I'm excited about that.
Thank you so much.
So what made you decide that now is the time to tell this story?
Well, I started the project a little over 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So many nights, Saturday nights, Sunday nights, this is what I've been working on. And it is over the last 2 years that I assembled a full creative team. And I give them tremendous credit, because they're a pleasure to work with, and they're doing wonderful, excellent work. Carlos Beccaria, the interior artist and colorist, he's doing a phenomenal job. And World Design, the letterer, and they've also given me a lot of guidance as to how to proceed with this project. Jeff Spokes, he is the cover and pinup artist. And I can't say it enough that working together, they've made this possible, and they're doing just excellent, amazing work. Like, whenever I get a page, you feel really good, or I feel really good when I see I receive a page.
It's like, it's very kinetic. Nothing is stiff, Now, within the pages, I've noticed that the characters are talking to these little orbs. Can you explain what these orbs are? There's several of them. Who are these people that they're speaking with, that are kind of driving the story forward, giving it the assemblage direction?
Okay, good question. The assemblage, they were raised in another reality. And the orbs are spheres that you're referring to. Mm-hmm. They live in that other higher reality. They're called the Auctores. Auctores is Latin for authors. And they basically parented and mentored the assemblage and gave them their powers. And the powers that the assemblage has, those powers will work for as long as they have a selfless and just intention.
Yeah, you mentioned that in one of the spirits mentioned that to one of the characters in the story. It's like, hey, remember, your powers will only work. I like that.
Thank you. And also, my assistant editor, she's doing a astounding job, Ebony Wellington. I have to mention her too. So again, the creative team, I'm really happy with the team that we formed. And again, I can't emphasize enough what a excellent and wonderful job they're doing.
I like that. So is this a one shot? It's an ongoing series. It's a mini series.
This first story arc is a two-parter. So this first issue is the first part of this two-part story arc. My goal, my hope is to make it an ongoing series.
Nice. So come June 13th, what can people expect? This Kickstarter goes live June 13th. What can people expect from this campaign? What do you think? And I ask people this. What do you think makes the assemblage different from some of the other comics that are out there right now?
Well, I would say the art. I'll answer both parts of the question. The art, characters, and ideas in the assemblage comic book will entertain you and stimulate your imagination. The comic book is dynamic, lively, and vibrant with a theme of selflessness. And it is a new universe of adventure. And we're inviting you to visit this universe and get to know some of the characters who live in this new universe. What else distinguishes it from other comic books? I would say that if we look at the history of comic books, there's a spirit of imagination and no limits on your mind, or no limits on what you can conceive of. And I believe, and our hope, what we're striving for is that we capture that spirit of imagination and no limits on what you can think of or conceive.
I like that. So who is the target audience for the assemblage? Like what age group are you aiming to identify with this book?
We're trying to attract both long-term comic book readers and people who may not have read comic books often over the years, or people who are new to comic books. So we're aiming for the broadest possible audience of readers.
I like that. So let's talk about, before we wrap up, let's talk about some of the perks. Because people love when they do a Kickstarter, talking about, hey, this is what we're going to give you for free for checking out our book, for pledging. What are some of the perks that people can look forward to?
Okay, so the full book, it's a total of 52 pages, and 41 out of the 52 pages are story. We have four options, are four items that from which backers or readers can choose. Two of the options are PDFs, and the other two options are the printed physical copies of the book.
Okay.
And those who ordered the physical copies, they will also get the PDF version.
I like that. I like that. I like that you're not going crazy with, t-shirts and uh, keychains and all this other stuff. Because when you're doing a crowdfunding campaign, part of it is pre-order. The other part is, you're trying to create a fan base. And, a lot of times people get distracted with all this extra stuff that the book gets minimized. And I'm glad that you're focused like, hey, I want people to read this story. And, like you said, it's a two-part story right now. So it's like after this campaign, it's like, hey, here's a second issue. You get that completed story arc. Because a lot of times when it comes to independent comics, you can love the comic, but you'll read one issue or two issues or just that first issue and you never get another issue. So I'm glad that you're like, hey, we're going to have 50 some pages, 40 pages of story here. Next volume, you'll get the rest of the story. So I salute you on that. Getting people to have a completed story arc. I love that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Arthur.
Oh, it's no problem. Like you're doing this. I hate when I, fall in love with a new comic and I never get the rest of the story. I'm just left hanging. So I'm glad that you are setting this up for people to get the full story and open the door for future stories later down the line. So
yes, and one consideration is we really want to deliver the book on time.
mm-hmm.
So when you have fewer options, that's easier. That's more doable to get it, just to get it to people on time, because that's what we're really aiming for.
No, I love that, and that's a smart way to do it because you're like, hey, the comic is done, but you're waiting on keychains, and that delays the book, or you're waiting on, hey, I want custom toys. That's another delay, and you're like, the whole point of this is to get the comics in readers' hands. So salute you for that. Now, do you have any final words that you want potential readers? Notice I didn't say backers because I want people to read this, not just back it. Back it, of course, but I want them to read it. Any final words for people that are, interested in potentially reading this book that you want them to know about the assemblage?
Sure. To all the potential readers, I would say that we've put a lot of positive energy into creating this book, and our goal is to make this the best reading experience, the best comic book reading experience for you. And we look forward to you engaging with the project, with the comic book. If you like science fiction, if you like mythology, if you like superheroes, if you like paleontology, if you like psychology, philosophy, all of that is in this book. So there is something that will suit your taste or something that will appeal to an interest of yours.
Nice.
And we're really excited about having more people read the full story and to see what the response is. And
Okay.
and thank you for the opportunity, Arthur, to talk about the project.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Now, where can people follow you on social media if they just like, hey, I want to follow this campaign? Where can they get the notifications? Actually, if you send me the notification for people to sign up, I can put it in the description. That way, people watch this video, they can click on it and be notified when the project launches. So, where can people find you on social media?
Okay, so I did send you the link to the Kickstarter pre-launch page and my email and the email address for the project.
Okay, nice. I'll add that.
So Yeah, you can add that. So once they click on that link in the video description, they'll be taken straight to the Kickstarter pre-launch page, and then they can sign up for notifications. And the project launches on Tuesday, June 13th.
All right. I like that. All right, Chris McLeish. See, I got it this time. No, thank you. As soon as we wrap up, I'm gonna go ahead and add that link into the description. That way, if people watch this, they will know. Hey, let me go click that notification, so they'll be ready for June 13th. The assemblage. This is Chris McLeish. I'm Arthur, aka Arthur Poet. This is Critical Nerd Theory. I thank each and every one of y'all. Like, subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.
Thank you. Take care.
No problem.